Every forest has a voice of its own. The rustling of the wind, the stirring of leaves, the distant call of a wild animal. But that night, the forest's voice had changed. It was raining. A cold wind was blowing through the trees. In the distance, amidst the darkness, the howling of wolves could be heard. But the forest did not know that this was no ordinary storm. This was a warning. Atop the forest's highest cliff, King Leo stood. His face bore the marks of time, and in his eyes lay a worry that his kingdom could never comprehend. He slowly looked up at the sky. Behind the dark clouds, something red was glowing. A red moon, and Leo recognized it.
At that very moment, in other parts of the forest, something strange began to happen. Deer suddenly started to flee. Herds of elephants grew restless. Monkeys huddled together in the treetops. And from the river waters, crocodiles began to emerge. No one had seen anything. No one had heard anything. Yet, every animal shared the same feeling. Danger was drawing near. Far from the forest, in a dark cave nestled among the rocks, hundreds of wolves sat in silence. No growling, no movement. Then, their leader slowly rose. He looked at his pack and said simply, "Tonight, everything will change." And the very next moment, the voices of hundreds of wolves echoed through the darkness of the night.
Tonight, everything changes. 9.
But in another part of the forest, Agent Nova was racing swiftly through the trees. No one had told her where the danger lay, but her intuition was urging her to move forward. Suddenly, she stopped. Her gaze fell upon the ground. Amidst the soil lay a paw print, but it wasn't the paw print of any ordinary animal. It was so massive that Nova had never seen such a mark in her entire life. She knelt down. She reached out her hand and touched the soil. The expression in her eyes changed. The soil was still warm. Whoever had passed through here had not gone very far. A short while later, a council of the forest elders was convened. The elder leaders of the elephants sat together. The mark Nova had found lay before them. No one spoke a word. Then, the oldest elephant stood up. In his eyes, there was no fear, only memories. He looked at the mark and said, "This mark is 1,000 years old. 1,000 years. But the mark had been made just today. So then, how is that creature, a species that had gone extinct 1,000 years ago, roaming the forest today?"
ये निशान 1,000 साल पुराना है.
Just then, the sky tore open. Lightning flashed. The rain intensified. And amidst that storm, Nova saw an ancient temple in the forest, made of stone, hidden among trees and roots, as if it had been waiting for someone to arrive for thousands of years. Nova reached the spot, pauses briefly, and without anyone touching them, the temple's massive doors began to slowly open. Inside, there was only darkness. Nova peered into the darkness. Then, she stepped inside. She didn't know that she wasn't just entering a temple, but stepping into a secret history had buried long ago. In the center of the temple stood a massive stone lion, lifeless, silent, thousands of years old. Nova walked around it. She looked at its face. Nothing happened. She started to move on. And at that very moment, in the stone lion's eyes, a faint golden light flared up. Nova stopped. Slowly, she looked up. It wasn't just a statue. It was watching Nova. And at that very moment, across the entire animal kingdom, every animal looked up at the sky. The red moon had fully emerged. The sounds of birds ceased. The eagles fell silent. Then, The wind died down. The rustling of leaves stopped. The sounds of the forest, one by one, began to fade away. And then the entire forest fell silent, as if the whole world had held its breath in unison. Then the earth shook. At first gently, then violently, the ground began to crack open. Massive trees were uprooted. River water spilled over its banks. Animals began to flee. Deer, wolves, elephants. Everyone was running to save their lives. But amidst that chaos, one animal didn't budge. King Leo. He stood upon that very rock, his gaze fixed solely on the north, and looking at his face, it seemed as if he knew who was coming. Far away, at the northern edge of the animal kingdom, amidst the mountains, there was a place where no one had ever gone.
राजा, मैं वापस आ गया हूं।